Title: He played hide and seek at night, but someone else was in the house eyes. Scary story, creepy true-style horror. The game. It started as a joke, the kind of dumb idea that only makes sense when you're 15 and bored on a cold Friday night. My parents were out at dinner, the house was quiet, and my best friend Nate was across the street doing nothing. One text later, he was at my door, shivering in a hoodie, a bag of chips in hand, and that grin he always got when trouble was coming. We played games for a while, half-watched a movie, then just sat there, the hum of the refrigerator filling the silence. That's when Nate suggested we play hide and seek. I laughed at first. It sounded like something little kids would do, but he wasn't joking. "It's dark," he said, already walking toward the light switch. "Makes it more fun." So we set the rules. No going outside, no attic, no crawl space. Basement, bedrooms, closets, all fair game. I agreed, thinking it might actually be fun with the lights off. Nate hid first. I covered my eyes in the living room and counted to 50 out loud. The house creaked around me, every number feeling heavier in the quiet. I heard his footsteps, quick at first, then silence. "Ready or not?" I whispered, opening my eyes. The kitchen light was the only one still on, a dull yellow glow cutting across the floor. I started there, empty. Then the bathroom, the hall closet, my parents' room, nothing. I moved upstairs, my socks whispering over the wood. Every time I turned a corner, I half expected Nate to jump out. When I reached the guest room at the end of the hall, the door was cracked open. I pushed it slowly, the hinges groaning. The air inside felt colder somehow. I searched under the bed, the closet, behind the dresser, nothing. I almost laughed out loud. He must have been in the basement. When I finally found him curled up behind some boxes under the basement stairs, he grinned like he'd won something. "Took you long enough," he said. We switched. My turn to hide. I went upstairs again, slipped under the guest bed, and pulled the skirt down to cover me. My heart hammered in the dark. I could hear Nate counting faintly from downstairs, his voice echoing off the walls. When he stopped, the house felt alive, every pop of wood, every groan of the pipes. Then footsteps. Slow ones. Coming up the stairs. They moved across the hall, pausing outside each room. The floorboards complained under the weight. I pressed a hand over my mouth, holding my breath. The steps stopped right next to the bed. I could hear breathing. Shallow. Close. Then nothing. I waited. A full minute, maybe more. Then I heard the footsteps again, moving away, down the hall, and finally fading. I crawled out, grinning, ready to brag that I'd won. But when I went downstairs, Nate wasn't on the couch. "Game's over," I shouted. From the basement, a voice answered. "Still looking for you. Where'd you hide?" My smile faded. "I'm out now," I said. "I'm in the kitchen." A second later, he came up the stairs, frowning. "How'd you get past me?" "What do you mean?" I asked. "I checked that room," he said, shaking his head. "Heard something moving under the bed. Thought it was you." "It was me," I said, forcing a laugh. He didn't laugh back. We played one more round, but it wasn't fun anymore. Every sound made us flinch. The old walls creaked, something thumped upstairs once, and we both froze. He said it was the wind. I wanted to believe him. By the time we turned the TV back on, both of us were pretending to be calm. The laugh track from some sitcom filled the silence, until another sound cut through it. A loud bump from upstairs. We both looked up at the same time. "Your parents," Nate whispered. "They're not home yet," I said. The air felt heavy. My skin crawled. Then came the slow creak of footsteps. Above us, moving down the hall. We didn't speak. We didn't breathe. Finally, I whispered, "Maybe we should check." Nate shook his head, eyes wide. "No way." But we couldn't just sit there. I grabbed the fireplace poker and led the way upstairs, every step echoing like a drumbeat. The hallway stretched out in front of us, shadows thick and unmoving. The guest room door was shut now. I knew I'd left it open. Something shifted inside, a faint drag, like fabric sliding across the carpet. My hands shook. I reached for the doorknob. I pushed it open fast. The room was empty. The closet door, though, was half open. I stepped closer, heart pounding in my throat. I yanked the door wide. Nothing but coats and boxes. We both exhaled shakily, laughed it off, tried to pretend it was nothing. And that's when we heard it, clear as day. The front door. Opening. Then closing. Someone else was in the house. We didn't say a word. Just ran, through the hall, down the stairs, out the back door, across the street to Nate's house. His mom called the police. They searched everywhere. Found nothing. No broken locks, no footprints, no sign anyone had been there. But we knew what we heard. That night was the last time we ever played hide and seek. And sometimes, when I'm alone in that house, I still hear the faint creak of footsteps in the hall, moving slowly toward the guest room. The second game. For a few days after that night, I tried to convince myself it was nothing. A draft. The house settling. My imagination feeding off the dark. Nate said the same thing whenever I brought it up, but I could tell he didn't believe it either. We stopped hanging out at my place for a while. Played basketball instead, rode our bikes around town, anything to stay outside. But then, about a week later, I woke up around 2 a.m. to the sound of footsteps again. Slow, deliberate. Above my room. The guest room. My throat went dry. I stared at the ceiling, holding my breath. The steps moved toward the hall, then stopped. For a minute, there was only silence. Then I heard something else, soft tapping. 3 knocks, evenly spaced, coming from somewhere down the hall. I didn't move, didn't even blink. Eventually the noise stopped, and I must have fallen asleep, because the next thing I knew it was morning, and sunlight was spilling through my window. When I told Nate, he just shook his head. "You're hearing things, man." But that night, he texted me at 11:42. "Nate, dude, you awake?" Me, "Yeah." "Nate, you remember how your guest room door was open when we found it last time?" Me, "Yeah, why?" Nate, "It was shut tonight when I walked past your house. Lights were on." I stared at that message for a long time. Nobody was home. My parents were on a weekend trip, and I was supposed to stay with my aunt. But I'd gone back for my phone charger. And I'd left the lights off. The next day, I decided I was done being scared. I set up one of my dad's old trail cameras in the hallway upstairs, angled toward the guest room. Just for proof. Just to make myself feel stupid later. That night, I stayed at my aunt's. When I came back the next morning, the camera was on the floor. The batteries were dead. I hooked it up to my laptop anyway. The video started normal, static, then a clear shot of the hallway. 10:03 p.m. Nothing moved for hours. Then, at 2:17 a.m., the guest room door opened. No one walked out. It just opened. A few seconds later, a shadow passed across the lens. Not a shape, not a person. Just a darker patch of dark, gliding past the camera. Then, right before the feed cut off, the camera shifted, like something had nudged it. The next frame was black. I called Nate, made him come over to watch it. He laughed at first, said maybe it was dust or a bug. But when he saw the door move, his face went pale. "You need to delete that," he said. "Why?" "Because now it's seen you." I stared at him. "What are you talking about?" He didn't answer right away. Just kept looking at the paused frame of the hallway. "When I was little," he finally said, "my grandma used to tell this story. About a spirit that hides in houses, waiting for people to look for it. She said it starts as a game. You hide, it seeks. But if you find it, it keeps playing. Forever." I tried to laugh, but it came out shaky. "You're saying we played hide and seek with a ghost?" "I'm saying you shouldn't have recorded it." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. The hum of the fridge, the ticking clock, the whisper of wind through the vents. At 1:36 a.m., my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Unknown, still looking for you." I froze. My heart started pounding. I looked at the contact info. No name, no photo, just a number with no area code. Another message came through. "Unknown, your turn to hide." The lights flickered once, then went out. Somewhere upstairs, a door creaked open. "Your turn." The lights died so fast I thought the power had blown. 1 second the phone screen was glowing in my hand. The next, blackness swallowed the room. My breath came out in short, sharp bursts. The only sound was the hum that always fills a house when everything else is quiet. The kind you only notice when you're trying not to. Upstairs, something shifted again. Slow, deliberate, like a door brushing carpet. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just listened. Another sound. Soft. Bare feet against wood. They moved toward the stairs. I backed up until my shoulder hit the wall. My phone was still in my hand. I turned the flashlight on. White light slicing through the dark. The hallway looked normal, but too still, too empty. Then the footsteps stopped. For a long, perfect second, there was nothing. Then a voice floated down from the top of the stairs. Ready or not, it was Nate's voice. My heart lurched. "Nate," I whispered, barely moving my lips. No answer. The beam of my phone shook as I pointed it toward the staircase. Every step was swallowed by shadow. I took one step closer, then another. Nate. Silence. I climbed halfway up, every creak beneath my feet echoing through the house. I reached the landing and turned toward the guest room. The door was open again. The air up there was colder, heavier, like the house was holding its breath. I lifted my phone, the flashlight cutting a path across the floor. Dust, an old rug, the corner of the bed, and something else. A shoe. Nate's shoe. He was here. He had to be. I whispered his name again, but what came back wasn't his voice. It was a whisper, low and wet, like words through a mouth that had forgotten how to speak. Your turn. The flashlight flickered. I spun around, heart racing. Nothing behind me. Nothing in the hall. When I turned back, the door to the guest room was closing, slowly, without a sound. I ran. Down the stairs, through the living room, to the front door. It wouldn't open. The handle twisted uselessly in my hand. Then I saw it, reflected in the glass pane of the door. Someone standing at the top of the stairs. Still. Watching. The shape was wrong. Too tall. Too thin. Its arms hung at its sides like strings. No face, just a smear of shadow. I froze, staring at the reflection, afraid to turn around. It didn't move. Didn't breathe. Just stood there. My phone buzzed again. The sound made me jump. Another message from the same number. Unknown. You found me. The shape tilted its head. I dropped the phone. The light hit the floor, spilling across the rug. When I looked back up, it was gone. The stairs were empty. The house was silent again. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the porch until dawn, staring at the front door. When the sun finally rose, I went back inside. Everything looked normal. No open doors. No missing shoes. My phone was where I'd dropped it. Screen cracked. One unread message. Unknown. Next game soon.